Hi, it's me, Chio. Welcome. So, this video is going to be divided into sections and then subdivided further. So, the first section is information the interviewer needs to have. Now, for the other part of the video, the things the author should do before the interview. Number one, confirm the type of interviewer you have. If you're reaching out to them or if they're reaching out to you. If you reach out to them, make sure the types of books they read are in line with what you are writing. Don't surprise them. Don't give them something you know is not in their taste because they might not like it. They might struggle with it. So if this interviewer does not like your book, the energy is not going to flow that nicely. So choose an interviewer that you believe from research will like the type of work you wrote. Also, check the types of interviews they've done before yours to see if it's in line with how you feel about interviews, how you feel an interview should go. You don't want to choose an interviewer that only does online, but then insist that they do a physical interview. You don't want the type of interviewer that likes asking natural questions in the moment, but then insists that they follow the kind of questions you want them to ask. They are not the people you should be working with because you work differently. Do not make work harder for interviewers. Next, if you are the person reaching out to the interviewer, give advance notice. They have a full schedule. Their job is to interview, so they have to do their job like everybody else, daily, weekly, monthly. So give advance notice so that they can fit you in their schedule at the time that works for both of you. Don't say, oh, I would like to do an interview this Saturday and expect them to agree to it. Their Saturday is likely already booked with another interview. So think about that and give enough time. That way you can both prepare. Next, the same way they have to confirm if you have an email, you should also confirm if they have an email if you're reaching out to them because you're asking professionally for an interview. Do it the right way. If they don't have an official email, feel free to call or DM them if those options are available. But make sure that you give enough information, be as polite as possible when you are reaching out to them. Next, give a precise explanation of what you're offering during that interview. If you're reaching out to an interviewer, they're doing work for you. Are you going to pay them? Are you going to give them free books? Are you going to publicize them? Whatever type of agreement you can come to with interviewer, make sure you get that done as soon as possible. Next on the list, give a precise explanation of what you hope to achieve from that interview so that they know if they can prepare for the interview in the way you want it and in the way that works for them. If your aim is to sell your books, let them know so that you can bring your books freely on that day and sell it. And they can talk about your books and tell people where to buy it. If your aim is to just talk about yourself, let them know. If you don't want to push your books, maybe because you're not confident with the books you published or you don't want to talk about them anymore, let them know so they can focus on what it is you came there for. And if they are not comfortable with that, that will give them the chance to also tell you, oh, this is what I'm comfortable doing, and you can both be at peace. Next, clearly state when, where, how you want the interview to go. The location, the time, the date, the mood. The same way an interviewer has to ask the author when they reach out to the author is the same way an author has to ask the interviewer. And lastly, if you have specific questions you want asked, prepare your questions beforehand. Now, when you reach out to an interviewer, they have their questions, they might do the research to get questions for you, but because you're giving them extra work, you should also have information prepared. You could ask them if you should give them questions or if they prefer to do it on their own, but do that process. Ask, and if they would like your help or prefer to prepare your questions, do that. That makes the job easier for both people. It makes you get the kind of questions you want, and it makes them have less worries to prepare questions for you. Now, let's focus on what the writer should do during the interview. Number one, show up on time. The interviewer is likely going to be at the location early. Also, show up early. Give yourself enough time to prepare, calm down. They know the work, they know what they're doing, they're used to those interviews. You might not be. Don't come right when it's supposed to start because if you're flustered, it throws off the questions, it throws off the rhythm, it throws off the interviewer, and it also throws off the audience. Come on time, come before time so you can prepare yourself and also prepare with the interviewer if there's need to do that. Next, give detailed answers, especially if there's enough time for in the interview. You wanted this interview to happen, or even though they invited you for the interview, don't go and give one worded answer. You're killing the mood for everybody. You're taking away from the interview. Give as much description, details as you can during the interview so that the questions, if simple, can have extra meaning to it. Talk as much as you can, as much as time allows. Let the interviewer and audience know that you're actually interested and paying attention to these questions that you are asked. And lastly, be polite. I cannot stress that enough. Be polite. There are many reasons and ways to be polite. You have to be polite for the sake of the interview, the interviewer, and the audience. Don't decide you want to skip over certain questions, especially if they were already agreed upon questions, because you're going to affect the pace the interviewer is setting for you. Don't ignore audience questions, even if you don't have an answer for them or you don't like the question they asked you. Try to answer it in a way that will satisfy both parties involved. The same goes for the interviewer's questions. Try to answer it in a way that would satisfy both parties involved. Don't put the interviewer on the spot by questioning why they're asking you a certain question. If it was not agreed upon, there are polite ways to go about it so that nobody feels slighted in the moment. You can address things later if there's need to, but during the interview itself, try to avoid putting people on the spot. It is an interview at the end of the day, not an interrogation. So that wraps up my advice to the interviewers and writers out there. I hope this has been informative enough. I hope it's giving you enough advice, and I hope you can share with people so that interviewers, writers that haven't seen this video can learn from it at least one or two things that they were not aware of and make the process easier for the people in this industry. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time. Bye.